spinning and spinning. We're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's edition of Survive, Thrive, and Triumph. Vicki, what is going on? I mean, one minute they say, oh, we're helping small businesses. The next minute they put the fear of God in them and people start turning back their loans. And then well, tell us what's going on.
All right. So, yeah, it's been interesting. I think we're getting down to the end of some of this craziness over the next couple of days. Yesterday, the SBA released additional new guidance around what they are actually going to require for certification of need on a loan. So on the PPP loan. So, well, when everyone applied for the loans, they certified that there was a need for it. Then that was just in the application. Then even in the signing process, they certified with a checkbox again that the loan was necessary, that there was economic uncertainty. But then we were hearing, and you probably all heard it in the news, of fraud with PPP and all these companies getting it that didn't need it. So, or these big companies that had access to other capital. So what the SBA and the Treasury were saying is we are going to really enforce this certification and you're going to have to show need. And we were actually almost nervous that banks were going to go over the top with what they were going to require business owners to show. But last night, the SBA and the Treasury specifically put out guidance that certification, they are going to use your original certification, assume that it was in good faith, and not do any other checks again on the certification side for loans under $2 million.
That's only on the question of whether the company needed it or not. Which is the first threshold basically for forgiveness or even for the ability to ask for the loan.
Yeah, I'm not talking about forgiveness at all. I'm specifically talking about the fear that they were putting into everyone, that they were going to in depth go into checking that there definitely was need and economic uncertainty. Because in some cases, when people applied for the loan back in early April, there was more uncertainty than there is now. So it was very hard, especially from a timeline perspective. People were fearful. So what happened was, we hear on the news all the big companies, that the larger businesses and organizations that gave the money back, rightfully so, they should have. But there were small businesses that actually needed it and it would have helped them. And they were so nervous about, this saying that they could go to jail, all these things that were out there. Some of it was the media, some of it truly was the Treasury, that they gave the money back. So now the guidance is saying, well, not the official guidance, but what's being advised is, okay, you're not going to have to, we're assuming certification, we're assuming good faith, we're not going to do anything else to check. Just go apply again. Because there's still money left. We got all this money back. So just apply again, which is just so unfortunate. And it has been this finger pointing back and forth, new information every day and misinformation that has caused this time period to be so stressful for business owners, so unnecessarily stressful, which is really important. But The overall news for everyone, this is good news today that they're not, you don't have to go crazy documenting, that your revenue went down or any type of certification. So that's good. Now, tomorrow,
not certification, but need. You're not going to need to document the need.
Right.
Certify your need.
Right. Or prove the need in some way. Okay. So that was the good news today. Now we're being told that by the end of the day, which through this whole time period, the SBA and Treasury have released information at 11:30 at night. So if you want to call that today or tomorrow, but between this evening and tomorrow, we are being promised forgiveness guidelines and the actual application that needs to be filled out and given to the bank for forgiveness. So that will then also give the answers that everyone is waiting for regarding, are they going to keep the 8-week requirement? Are they going to go longer? It's coming up, it's coming close, if not at the 8-week, not necessarily, it's coming close to the 8 weeks for some businesses that got it very early on. So they really need to get this out. But we're hearing they could be extending it longer. They could be saying any loans under a certain amount are automatically forgiven. So we have to see what that means.
Well, we just heard or saw that our video on Facebook, the actual live portion, went down. I guess,
Right.
whatever, but we'll just keep going because we're recording and we'll just upload it.
Yes. So anyway, so forgiveness hopefully today, and we'll let everybody know via posts if we get any, good, helpful information. One of the other things that's come out this week is that there is a bill in the House of Representatives that I think it's a $3 trillion new bill. It's
More
just
debt.
in the,
More debt.
we're thinking, yeah, I know. We're thinking it's going to get approved in the House on Friday, but once it goes to the Senate, there will definitely be multiple iterations probably of this bill. It's a lot of money. Not many, there's folks all for it. And then there's a lot of folks that are dead set against going into more debt. But a couple of things on there. One, there'll be they're looking for an additional stimulus payment. Whether or not that really helps the economy is yet really unknown at this point. But one of the things that really does have an effect on business owners is that the House bill wants to extend the unemployment benefits of the traditional unemployment plus the extra $600 a week. So that's the pandemic unemployment assistance. That was only supposed to go until July, the end of July. This new bill is trying to extend that to the end of December. So I think that's a critical thing for business owners to be watching, because we know of all these stories, and maybe some folks here have experienced, needing to lay people off, but then wanting to bring them back, whether you got PPP or circumstances changed, or now, some businesses are getting allowed to reopen, and you want to bring your people back and resume operations, and they don't want to come back. Right. Because this unemployment is so lucrative to them. If they were an hourly worker or whatever, they could be making more. Or, it could just be that they're scared to come back and they want to stay on unemployment. But by extending this really pretty sizable payment each week for not working, for extending it till the end of December, really could have negative consequences on small businesses trying to bring people back and the economy in general. We want people out there wanting to work.
I agree 100%, but I also think that there's something that's going to be pushing back against this, because part of the unemployment side, to continue to receive unemployment, you have to, as a recipient, you have to state and show that you're trying to get a job and you can't get a job. Now, unless they changed it, or they do change it and say, I'm fearful for my health, and that supersedes going and looking for a job. But if there's nothing like that in there, and you have the ability to get a job and there's job openings, that may cut the unemployment. It may be the pushback that is needed to get people off of the unemployment rolls and back into the jobs.
Well, but the other part of this, because I've seen the New Jersey unemployment application, I've actually done it with someone, and there's more to the pandemic unemployment and this time period. So there's actually questions on, is there a child at home that can't go to school that you have to care for?
They're putting up
there's other things
that would supersede or...
Right. Exactly. So it's a little different than it normally. So those same questions are there, but now there's some new things that make it a little more, flexible, which, if schools don't start up in September or daycares don't open, there's rightfully going to be an issue. So, it's a little easier to stay on there, because
again, it's state by state too. So everybody should be you should find out, if you're an employer, you need to find out what these requirements are that an employee or a person on the rolls of unemployment would have to, what hurdles they have to get over, they would have to prove. And if you're looking for unemployment, you better realize what is going to take precedence and what isn't going to take precedence for you to keep getting that unemployment benefit.
Right. And that could be part of the change too. I mean, they could say, all right, well, we're going to take away those pieces, but extend till December. So who knows? I mean,
we don't know.
And we know this is going to change, but it's just something to be paying attention to, because, you know, when we see some of this stuff come out, you know, I'm always thinking, how is this going to affect the business owners long term? And to me, that is definitely something that you're thinking, I'm not on unemployment, it doesn't affect me, but it affects, you know, the economy and business in general. And then another thing along those same lines, like how does it affect a business owner, is some of the headlines that we're also seeing, not government related, but corporation related, where they are, Twitter announced they're going to allow employees to work from home permanently. Google announced they're going to allow employees to work from home till the end of the year. And then there's a whole bunch of, Microsoft, they all have come out with, you know, these policies to let people work from home for a pretty extended period of time, if not permanently. So, you know, that has an effect, you know, that has it's a multi-tiered effect. First, we know obviously it has effect on commercial real estate, right? So not just, you know, you got the big corporations now saying they don't need the space at all, or they don't need as much space. So it's definitely, you know, this new trend. It was already a trend, but now this reason behind the trend, a very compelling reason behind the trend, is going to have an effect on rental real estate, as well as, you know, how businesses are, I mean, it could be good for the business owner because now their rent's going to go down, or change in some way and become maybe more affordable than it was. But really,
I'm sorry, that's what we were talking about at least 1 or 2 sessions ago, about even with larger businesses, but smaller businesses as well, may go to the hoteling concept, where they may only need a half or a third of the space that they normally would have, and they would have less infrastructure that's needed, because they could have one office that 3 different people could be utilizing over the course of a 2-week period or a 3-week period, and you just rotate people in. And I think that this whole pandemic has shown that businesses can be successful and can work. And I'll pat ourselves on the back at ResultsCFO, because we've been doing this for over 10 years in remote. I mean, we're totally remote. Every one of our people is scattered across the country, and we've been using Zoom meetings or Ring Central meetings to have internal meetings with our clients. We got clients scattered all over the globe, and we still are able to provide our services and provide value to the client. So it can be done. There is something to say, though, for the interaction of a day-to-day, and I think that there's always some of that needed, and I think some people will want that. I think the other problem that people aren't thinking about now, maybe, and my wife and I were talking about this because she's at the FDA, and she was saying, they've said that they're probably going to they're allowed to work from home for the rest of the year. So, and she says, everybody's more productive, it seems like, than when they're in the office. I said, yeah, I agree that right now in this short time frame, everybody's very productive because there's nothing else to do. I worked from home for 10 years before I went totally remote with team members, but before we got larger, we had an office out of my house. I worked out of the house, and there was always something I could do at the house to kind of take away, or I could run an errand. Right now, there's no errands to run. So people are forced to do work and to be more productive. So I think that there's going to be a balancing act here.
Yeah. And it's personality. I mean, it's personality type, right? I mean, it's like you lose, you know, you don't have to commute. You can work longer. I mean, there's pros and cons, and I think certain people are cut out for it and certain people are not.
Right.
But there has always been a desire for it for employees. And I think that this push, this kind of, I don't want to say excuse, that's the wrong word, but kind of this reason that's beyond just personal desire. It's because there's reasoning why someone wouldn't want to come into an office for safety reasons or whatever. And you have these big corporations where there isn't a talent issue, right? There, you know, in the big companies in technology, there's still a talent gap. So, you know, you have these companies vying for the right candidates. And if you're going to offer remote, you know, one company is going to offer remote and one isn't, and that's an individual that means a lot to them. You know, it could be a talent pool thing. And so I think that business owners need to, you know, be realizing that there's a lot of companies out there that are going to be allowing this. And if you're someone that is completely against it, you have to start to become a little more flexible, because you don't want to give up like the right perfect candidate because you're not willing to have the flexibility that other companies are.
You got to be adaptable as a business owner,
yeah,
flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. So just, you know, things that this pandemic is causing that are so much more than just like, how are we going to get through this period of time? You know, the longer term consequences of it and the longer term pivots that everyone needs to be thinking about to, you know, to come out stronger. So
years ago, one of my mentors told me that, and drilled into my head, that what you do today, you're not going to really see the effect of it tomorrow. You're going to see the effect of it 5 years from now when it comes to your business. Yeah. And even in your personal life, things that you do today are really going to have an impact years from now, not in the next day or the next week. I think that things have changed the way businesses changes so quickly today. I don't think the 5 year, as we've talked about internally, 5 year trends or 5 year projections are really a little far out. Those same 5 years have been reduced down to 2 and 3 year projections because things change so quickly. But people have to understand it's not always just the short term, it's the long term. We were talking about that with one of our clients today before we came on. Right. They're looking at a warehouse space. The dollar amount for the warehouse space for a larger unit is less, and they need that space for the short term, but they don't need it in the long term. They won't need it 12 months from now. So they had another space that was cheaper, smaller. I mean, excuse me, it was cheaper. It was more expensive per square foot, but the size was, the space was smaller. And so therefore the monthly rental was less, but they'd have to squeeze things in for 12 months and be a little tight for 12 months. You got to look at the long term, how it's going to affect that balance sheet on the long term. So especially
now where you could project easier the long term in the past before this. And now the long term, there's so many variables that, you know, where you can take the more conservative approach, where normally we might not say take the most conservative approach, take the approach that's going to get you closest to where you think you need to be. You know, in this time frame, it's kind of like the conservative approach is probably the better approach right now.
I don't envy you in that regard, because I know that you're working with one of our clients on their projections, and they're in the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
They're 9-month and 12-month projections based on the hotels that they service. And my responsibility, I got the easy end of the deal. I'm just dealing with expenses. You've got to come up with the projections on the revenue side. That is going to be super, super tough, but got to get it done. And we've got to look at it. We've got to be conservative. I mean, normally when we budget for our clients, we budget 10% less on revenue than what we expect and 10% more on expenses. So we're basically at 20% or 80% of what we really think things are going to be. So if we can break even there or make the profit that the business owner is looking for, then anything else is gravy that they're going to be getting. So we always plan for the worst case scenario, but so it's true that you got to look at the long term now, but that long term is shorter.
It's shorter,
that's all it is.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So interesting stuff. No, today was a slower day. Today was a slower day. Just so everybody knows,
I do that all the time to Vicky.
No, it was relevant. So today's a slower day. So I think that we're going to have some more information later today or tomorrow, and it should be interesting. But I'm kind of at this point where I'm just happy to move beyond PPP and loans and start, looking at the reopenings and, the positives that, the kind of some of the light at the end of the tunnel versus just getting through this. So it's been a crazy I try to think back, how long has this been? I think it's like with the PPP stuff, has it been 6 or 7 weeks now?
April 3rd.
April 3rd, right. Okay. It feels like a year, but it feels like a really long time.
It does feel like a year. But I think the first loan applications or the first applications for the PPP.
Sorry, you're right. That's what it
Friday,
was.
April the 3rd.
Right. You're right.
So we were getting ready for it about 10 days before that.
Correct.
Before that.
Correct. So it is really like 2 months, for us with thinking about this and talking about it.
Yeah. Even though it feels like you said, it feels like this is what we've been thinking about forever. I mean, it's
and who would have thought I've never been in a situation where I'm presenting to folks and, with my knowledge and, in an authoritative way, like that we know what we're talking about. And then it keeps changing and just constantly and having to update on a daily basis. I mean, really, when has that ever happened? It's never happened before. So, and maybe it's happened when you think tax code's going to get passed or something didn't get passed yet.
Yeah, but it's not.
Never.
It's not constantly changing.
Right. Never something that's passed and is considered law. And then all these different entities saying this and that. And then the media's component, part of this whole thing. So it's been interesting. So hopefully we'll have some resolution in the next day or so by the end of the week for a nice weekend.
Keep our fingers crossed, as they say. I don't hold a lot of stock. I'm not going to hold my breath.
Or they'll give us something, but it really won't answer all the questions.
Exactly. And then next Friday or next Wednesday, they'll change it again because somebody will complain about something.
I know. Fingers crossed that's not the case. Fingers crossed that's not the case.
We'll see. Only time will tell.
Yes, yes.
All right. So everybody, is that everything for today, Vicki?
That is it. Yeah.
Awesome. So everybody have a great weekend. Stay safe. Keep well, as they would say. And we'll see you next Tuesday. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye, everybody.